Welcome to Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG podcast brought to you by Smash Fiction. I'm Dan Mulcairn, your game master. Playing Stitch is Kit Mulcairn.
Ohana means family. Family means Phyrexia's gonna get stomped.
Playing Dante is Liz Logan.
This is the last time I get to make really bad decisions.
I mean, have my doubts about that one, Liz.
Yeah, have some faith in yourself, Liz.
Playing Luna Lovegood is Megan Bob.
You know, if this is the end, then I'm really glad it's with all of you.
Playing Sterling Archer and Nico Minoru is Miles Schneiderman.
So, okay, since this is the first time we've had to do this, I just have to ask this question. If the two characters that I'm playing, like, for whatever reason, end up having sex, does that count as me go fucking myself?
Playing Morden Solis is Claire Mulcairn.
Now the League stands facing a trio of praetors. No matter how things go, seems pretty safe to say that at the end we have arrived, but not everyone survived. Here's a tribute to those lost along the way. Dante's coat was lost while we were fighting dinosaurs, and he tore his clothes when Luna dyed them red. I suppose I should be chastened that I haven't mentioned Raceland, but I'm mainly here to talk about the threads. Poor unfortunate clothes, all lost or torn. By now I am just guessing that you'll never stop undressing. What'll I do? Only mourn. Those poor unfortunate clothes. You tear, you strip. There's no tactical advantage to give foes such a clear vantage, though I guess it helps to fuel our budding ship. I've made a song about this twice, and you won't take my advice. It seems clear by now this is the path you've chose. So now my only urge is to sing this final dirge to those poor unfortunate clothes.
Oh, God.
Yay!
Going out strong.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my crimes.
Previously, you embarked upon a mission to destroy the Doomstar before it could slip through the portal to Phyrexia and begin its campaign of multiversal conquest and destruction. After receiving information that the Doomstar's remote destruction trigger was housed in the floating foundry known as the Starforge, your group quickly infiltrated the forge. The plan was to get to an extraction point and use a device called the Beacon to summon the rest of the Extraordinary League. But an unexpected collision with a Super Star Destroyer meant that the Starforge was pushed off of the extraction point, leaving you stranded with no backup. You briefly considered combining the powers of the rings you've collected from multiple universes, only to find that Dante's Ring of Fire had been stolen sometime during his period of petrification while on the Starforge. You did manage to free a small group of imprisoned Leaguers, and with their help, fought your way to the destruction trigger. Upon entering the room, however, you found that there was no destruction trigger. The whole thing was a setup to trap you in a room with the three remaining Phyrexian praetors, Lex Luthor, Mum-Ra, and Darth Vader. And that's where you are now. You stand in an observation deck, a large room featuring multiple tiers all looking toward a floor-to-ceiling window. Through the window, you can see as your rebel allies are slowly beaten into submission by the combined Imperial and Phyrexian fleets. And all the while, the massive Doomstar gets ever closer to the portal that will transport it to Phyrexia. The three Phyrexian praetors approach you, each in their armored forms, mystical power radiating off of them in shimmering light. Let's roll initiative.
10.
Nico, 10.
7.
7.
4.
And Archer.
7.
Stitch, you are up first. So we have Lex Luthor coming from one side, Mum-Ra coming from another, and Darth Vader coming from a third. So what would you like to do, Stitch?
Stitch is gonna pull down Dr. Eggman's goggles off of his forehead and over his eyes. It's gonna turn on that Neil Diamond 8-track, so it's playing Sweet Caroline. Some good battle tunes going. And he's gonna grab Marlene off of Lace and play some Sweet Caroline directly at the Praetors.
Okay, they're coming at you from different directions, so you can only target one of them at a time.
Yeah, Stitch is gonna target Lex Luthor with Marlene. Nope.
Apparently, Lace likes to play it in a different tuning than you're used to, so it'll take you a sec to get used to it.
Speaking of, Lace is gonna look at the 3 predators and turn right around and run out of the room.
Okay, Lace goes running. The Praetors just kind of, they let her go. They're not especially worried about a raptor. The 6 of you are who they're after. Nico, what would you like to do?
I knew I was going to regret this when I learned this stupid spell. Nico points her finger at Dante and says, "Get swole, Dante."
Where did this spell come from?
I've been learning a few things while you guys have been doing stuff. Yeah, green. Increases strength by 3 ranks up to unearthly.
And as I'm flexing and getting swole, my clothes rip.
Gasp.
All right, it is Vader's turn.
Oh,
This is the first time you guys have really gotten to see Vader in his Praetor form. The metallic parts of his previous costume, so his chest plates, boots, and helmet, have been transformed into a white material that looks more like ceramic or bone. His helmet in particular has undergone a noticeable change and now features a very wide, flat plate in the shape of an upside-down V that begins just above his eyes and extends back behind him in these 2 elegant blades. The non-armored parts of his previous outfit have changed into black twisting wires, which gives him a look that's both mechanical and skeletal. He begins to emit a golden white radiance. From here on out, for the rest of the fight, all of Vader's allies are getting +2 column shift to all of their actions.
Fuck.
And all of you are getting -2 column shift to all of your actions.
What?
It is Archer's turn.
All right, I guess I'll do... Is Luthor wearing any armor?
He does not have an armor power, no.
So yeah, Archer will just shoot him. So that's green.
And the damage on that?
You go ahead and spend a card and make it go from 20 to 70.
All right, yeah. You get a very solid hit on Lex Luthor. He doesn't seem to notice overly much. Dante, you are empowered by Nico's magic. What would you like to do?
Well, I know they have the huge, computer terminals. So I want to rip out, an entire row of them. I will throw it at Luthor, then. Red!
Yeah, you hit Luthor quite solidly, actually. The computer terminal actually breaks apart over him due to the now monstrous level of strength that you hurled it with. Morden, what would you like to do?
I mean, what is metal if not Earth? If Toph has taught us anything, could I do an Earth ring check and if I get a good enough roll, I could do it, or is that not
Sure.
possible?
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna have you roll on it, but it's gonna be at -2 column shifts.
In addition to the
To the
-2.
-2 from Vader, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna need to spend a little karma because that's not very good odds right now. Yeah, I spend 10 and it gets a green. So
It's clear that this was not 100% what it was intended to do, but, you put your force of will behind it, and also, probably some science, and, yeah, a big chunk of...
no ring, if you think about it, if you really think about it.
So, yeah, a big chunk of metal goes flying out of the floor and into Lex Luthor, who's still coming strong. Luna.
All right, I'm gonna throw out Venusaur and recall him very quickly after this, because I'm not letting my baby get hurt. But I'm throwing him as far from Lex Luthor as I can while still being in range. All right, Venusaur, sleep powder.
He shrugs off the effect of the sleep powder and remains conscious.
All right, well, Venusaur's back with me.
It is Mum-Ra's turn. He's going to approach Dante. As he does so, a dark purple aura begins to leak off of him. Dante, I'm going to need you to roll an endurance check, and I would encourage you to roll well.
Karma! I'll take it to a yellow.
Dante, you are not instantly killed.
Are you fucking serious, Dan?
Yeah, you are not instantly killed. Congratulations. That was not Mum-Ra's turn. That's just a thing he does at the start of his turn.
Oh.
So he's going to raise up his hand toward Dante and let loose a gigantic blast of purple lightning. Dante, you are getting hit, but you can try to dodge if you want.
Duh. Green.
Okay, yeah, you managed to get out of the way. This thing tears up through the floor you were standing on and through the wall behind you, but you yourself managed to barely escape injury. It is now Luthor's turn. Everyone, make a psyche check.
Oh my good god.
Karma.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend some karma.
Take it to a fucking yellow.
All right, what did Stitch get?
White.
All right, Nico?
You got a yellow.
Archer?
Green.
Morden?
Yeah, I spent some karma and I got a yellow.
And Luna.
Yellow.
So, Nico, Morden, Dante, and Luna, you guys lose access to half of your powers. Archer, you get to choose one power, and you lose all of your other powers. Stitch, you lose all of your powers. Luthor closes his eyes as if in silent ecstasy, and you all see like magical energy is forming around him as he's absorbing the knowledge and powers from all of you. He then opens his eyes, looks over at Nico, and says,
Beginning to regret your choice of friends now?
No, why would I be doing that?
It just seems to me like you're on the wrong side of this.
Oh, well then, I mean, but you're an idiot. We've established this.
we are back to the top with Stitch.
Stitch pulls out a little red and white ball, taps on it, and it kind of grows larger in his hand. And then he tosses it out in front of Lex Luthor. Out pops the Tasmanian fucking devil.
All right.
All right.
So, Stitch, you've called the Tasmanian devil. What would you like him to do?
Taz is gonna come out whirling and screaming and try to pull Lex Luthor into a fight cloud. Damn this reduction. All right, it's a yellow.
All right, so Luthor gets pulled into a fight cloud with the Tasmanian devil. This is the world we've made, everyone. Okay. Nico, it is your turn. You are down a few spells, my friend. What would you like to do?
Let's target Mumra with my chain spell. All right, so I'm gonna bring that to a yellow. So he's defenseless and immobile.
Spectral chains shoot out of nowhere, wrapping around Mumra. He is held still for the time being. We'll see how long that lasts. That brings us to Vader, who stalks towards Stitch, draws his lightsaber, and begins cutting down with impossible speed and fury. Stitch, you are getting hit quite hard. You take 89 damage from the lightsaber.
Woo!
And that brings us to Archer.
Archer, puts his gun away. Or doesn't put it away, but, raises it up, and he's like, I can feel my connection to Ka. Where did it go? It slipped away, but it's okay. You know that Sterling Archer always has a secret weapon. And he pulls out his hip flask. Opens it up, pours glowing green shit over his head.
All right, so you are using the mutagen you purchased from the advancement list.
That's right.
Okay.
Miles, what animal do you think Archer has spent the most amount of time with? I was thinking the
I was
ocelot,
thinking the ocelot.
maybe.
Let's do the ocelot.
All right, cool. So, Archer, you are engulfed in this glowing goo and undergo a strange and startling transformation into a middle-aged mutant assassin ocelot.
Secret agent ocelot.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
That's right. Each of your physical stats increases by 1 rank. You now have a claw attack that deals strength plus 10 damage, and you also have enhanced hearing, sight, and smell.
You got a wicked tail.
Okay.
Also a tail. The tail does not have stats, but it is cool.
It helps you balance.
Dante, what would you like to
It's
do?
very fluffy.
Can I steal Darth Vader's lightsaber?
You can certainly try. Dante, I'll need you to make a strike check, please.
Oh my god. I forgot to say karma, but it doesn't matter. I got 100.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing that happens in the Marvel system when you try to grab something, which is what you're attempting to do. On a red result, you break the object you were trying to grab.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I want the lightsaber. It's shiny, it's red, it matches my aesthetic. It's mine.
It matches the scraps of clothing lying on the ground.
Yes. So I lunge for it, and as Vader is mid-swing, I kind of put my hand out, and I don't know my own strength literally because I've been made a monster. I grab it, goes out of Vader's hands, it turns off, and I'm in a Superman position with the lightsaber, and I hit the wall, and my fist clenches, and I literally shatter it.
Yeah, all right, great. You have broken Darth Vader's lightsaber.
Great.
We are now at Morden.
So, Dan, I was wondering if it's possible to, in the vein of the RPG Blades in the Dark, which is like a heist game, in the middle, you can say that you made a special preparation before the heist began.
Okay, what did you have in mind?
And I was considering that as we were arriving, just to be on the safe side, I made a portal. I was going to put it on the outside of their spaceship so that I could shoot a portal on the ground and make a hole into space.
So your idea is you put a portal on the exterior of the Starforge on your way in. You are now
Yeah.
going to open the other end of the portal. I will say that one person in this room is going to get sucked out.
Even if I put it at the feet of the Praetor?
Oh, sure. you'll roll an agility check with a bonus for ranged combat guns. The higher the result that you get, the bigger the penalty that your target will get on their strength check to not get sucked through the portal. If they don't get sucked through the portal, then everyone else is going to have to roll to see who does. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
God.
Would Mumra be at a penalty for being chained, or would Darth Vader be at a penalty for just getting his lightsaber broken, anything like that? Or
Mumra would be at a penalty for being chained, because he is vulnerable per the conditions of the spell.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Mumra then. I'll spend some karma on this. Yeah, I can make that red with just like 15 karma, so great.
Okay, I'm going to give Mumra a strength check at a -6 column shift. Oh, buddy. Yeah, Mumra disappears into the portal leading to the exterior of the Starforge.
Oh, that's great.
You can look down and see him flying out into space, and he, turns around and starts flying back toward the portal.
Okay, yeah, I want to shed it immediately.
All right, cool. So
Before anyone
Mumra's-
else gets pulled out into space.
Yep, Mumra is outside the Starforge somewhere. Good job taking him out temporarily. All right, Luna, it is your turn.
All right, I'm gonna use my ring then. I want Lex Luthor to lose his next turn.
You're, trying to overwhelm him with emotion, it sounds like?
Yeah, Luna's gonna think of every sad, beautiful thing she possibly can and just try and send that at Lex Luthor. Yeah, karma. I'm gonna take that to green.
The Ring of Heart, sadly, is not enough to penetrate through to Luthor's heart this time around. You could give it another try next turn if you would like. It is Mumra's turn. Mumra continues to fly through space. No need to go further into that. All right, it is Lex Luthor's turn, and he has a lot of powers to choose from all of a sudden. He's going to suddenly sprout 2 additional arms, and then he brings up all 4 of his arms, and each one casts Nico's Zap spell.
Oh, Jesus.
So he's
Oh,
casting
God.
it at Nico, Stitch, Dante, and Morden. Wow. Yeah, all of you are getting hit for 50 damage each.
Oh, there goes Stitch.
All right, Stitch is
What?
out. And that brings us to Nico.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna stare Lex in the face and just say, "You're gonna attack me with my own spells." You know that feeling when you're about to beat super ghouls and ghosts, and your roommate trips over the power cord?
For the listener at home, that is literally the name that Miles gave to this particular spell.
What?
That is a yellow.
The wave of magical energy that comes off of Nico washes out and fills the room and keeps expanding out past the walls. As it passes over you guys, nothing happens, apparently. As it passes over Luthor and Vader, however, their Phyrexian forms vanish, and you see they are just reduced to their normal selves, a bald man in a suit and a towering black-armored cyborg.
Oh, good. It's just normal Darth Vader. We got this, you guys.
That's right.
Doesn't have a lightsaber though. You're
That's true, he
welcome.
doesn't
That's
have
right.
a lightsaber. The 2 of them stand kind of stunned for a moment, and then Luthor looks at Nico with a combination of confusion, rage, and panic on his face, and he says, "You cut us off."
Yeah, just pull your cord.
All of you have your powers returned to you, and no longer have the -2 column shift penalty. Vader is a little quicker to act than Luthor, takes a step forward toward Dante and reaches out his hand. Dante, you kind of sense this coming, I guess, and maybe throw yourself out of the way. He was attempting to force choke you, but you managed to avoid the attack. And that brings us to Archer.
I believe you mean Ocelot Archer.
Correct.
Special Agent Ocelot Archer.
right.
Archer J. Ocelot. Randy J. Ocelot.
Yes.
So yeah, it's about this time that Randy is going to go ahead and attack Luthor with his Ocelot claws. Yellow.
Nice. Luthor is not stunned by your attack. He does, however, take extra damage because technically he's still getting attacked by the Tasmanian Devil.
Oh yeah.
I forgot that he was here.
Yep. Dante, what would you like to do?
I guess I'm gonna whip out the Sword of Power.
Do what with it, Liz?
Well, not what you guys probably want. Basically, what I'm gonna
so.
What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start going nuts with the sword. I am going to cut up the middle floor. I'm gonna cut wires.
All right, so Dante, you start carving it up. I will say, Dante, for future rounds, if you want to try to make use of this new dangerous terrain you've constructed, you will get a bonus to your damage. So if you want to push someone into something or break off a jagged piece of metal or something, you've basically given yourself that resource. Morden.
I'm gonna use some Metagel on Stitch.
All right, Stitch, you are back on your feet. Luna, what would you like to do?
Lex Luthor's just a middle-aged man now, right?
He is.
I'll use Confringo, because that's fire damage to one target. Karma! Alright, yellow.
All right, so you're shooting blast of fire out of your wand at him?
Yes.
Okay. Luthor sees this coming, raises up his right hand, and says, "Fire!" The fireball that you shot out suddenly does a 180-degree turn and goes flying back at you, Luna. So you end up taking the spell
God, why did you
instead.
guys even bring me to this fight?
Well, we found the ring.
Yes, you guys see that
Yeah,
Lex
that's
Luthor
good.
is wearing Dante's Ring of Fire. And that now brings us to Mumra. Mumra finds an airlock and goes inside, although he has been transformed back into his non-Phyrexianized form. But fortunately, he's a lich, so vacuum of space was still no problem for him. It is Luthor's turn. He's looking around, and he says, "This is why I always come prepared." And you see he reaches behind him. He's carrying a satchel that you all recognize because it's a relatively common item in the multiverse. You realize he's carrying a bag of holding,
God
which
damn
is
it.
a bag which is larger on the inside than the outside. He plunges his arm in up to about the elbow, and you see what looks like this sudden splash of black liquid flows up his arm and over his body, covering him completely. His body is now entirely black, except for a large white spider on his chest, 2 large white eye spots, and a giant gaping fang-filled mouth. He then pulls his arm out of the satchel, and you see he's wielding a giant sword with a skull motif that trails mist behind it. So Luthor now has the Ring of Fire, the Venom Symbiote, and Frostmourne.
How did you get Frostmourne? Oh,
'Cause
they
you
took
guys
over
left
the
it
castle.
behind a
Yeah, that's
Grayskull.
fine. They did take over the castle. I'll allow it.
Stitch, what would you like to do?
Oh boy. Stitch is gonna literally run over to Lex and jump at him and try to lightsaber that ring hand right off. Karma. Yeah, I'll make it deal.
Oof, Luthor biffs his endurance check. Stitch, you cut off Lex Luthor's hand.
Ah,
Yeah.
catch that hand.
He lets loose this weird alien roar out of his venom mouth. The symbiote immediately stitches over his smoking stump. It actually starts making a hand for him out of pure symbiote, but his hand with the ring on it is now lying smoking on the ground. And that brings us to Nico.
I'm gonna use the telekinesis spell to move the ring off the finger and throw it back at Dante. That's a yellow.
Dante, you get your ring back.
Woo!
It is Vader's turn. He is going to go in towards Dante.
Without your lightsaber, fool.
If you think I need my lightsaber to defeat you, you don't know the power of the dark side.
Dante, you suddenly feel an incredible pressure on your windpipe as your throat is being crushed by the Force. You take 20 damage, and you are beginning to pass out. Archer, what would you like to do?
I think I'm gonna pull out the gun and hit him with incendiary rounds.
Going for Luthor?
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a green.
Yeah, so you're firing point blank at him because you were just in melee with him,
Yeah.
clawing at him. So then you whip
Yeah.
out the lawgiver and
The Cawgiver.
the Cawgiver, and knock him off his feet with a short-range blast of an incendiary round. He lands, and the symbiote is sort of just curled up on him, twitching and bubbling, and then just schlorps away
Thank
from
you.
him. So Luthor is lying basically unconscious on the ground with just a stump. Frostmourne lying sadly unused in his other hand. It is now Dante's turn.
Okay, so I'm being choked out, and Vader's being a big jerk. And I'm just gonna go, "And you wouldn't like me when I'm mad! Devil trigger.
All right, so you are not only mystically bestowed by Nico, but now you are a big old demon guy.
So when I transform into Devil Trigger, a small explosion occurs. I'm going to assume that somehow allows me to break out.
Sure.
I'm going to put the power sword in my left hand and run towards Vader like Last Airbender style. As I'm doing that, I want to scoop up Frostmourne as well and have them both and go, "Rah!" and then join them together and just thrust right to Vader.
What hand are you grabbing Frostmourne with?
My right hand.
Oh, that's your robot hand.
Yes.
Okay, so you are not touching Frostmourne. Good job, Dante.
There's some smart decisions to be had.
Roll 2 fighting checks, please.
I'm going to use Karma. I want this to work.
I mean, if you think using 2 swords is making up for all of your time of using no swords, then
Okay, so that's 2 reds.
I think your strength is currently at unearthly,
I raised it to monstrous, and I think Devil Trigger raised it again.
so you deal somewhere in the neighborhood of 230 damage to Darth Vader. Vader is out. You hit him down with 2 hits of your swords.
Can I just say that as he goes down, his cloak gets a little ripped on the metal I had torn up?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll show him. So at this point, one of the doors on the far side opens, and you see Mumra is walking towards the now open doorway. But you guys hear like the sounds of very heavy metal footsteps from behind him. He turns around. Kit, would you like to describe what he sees?
He sees like one of those chicken walkers from Star Wars, except in the cockpit of it is a raptor.
Yep. Lace ran off and found herself an ATST. Go ahead and roll agility with a bonus for ranged combat guns for Lace, Kit.
I'll just use karma. I'm keeping it a green.
So there's just a series of double staccato laser bursts from this ATST, and Mumra drops. So the 3 Praetors have been taken out. The other door opens, and you guys see the other League members enter. So Squirrel Girl, Amethyst, Godzilla, and Brock. Godzilla sees Luthor lying on the ground, lets out an angry roar, walks over and kicks him.
Yeah.
So the Praetors have been defeated. You guys can see that the battle has now officially more or less ended outside, with the Phyrexians and the Imperials victorious as the Doomstar draws ever closer to the portal. What would you guys like to do?
Okay, so we still have that to deal with. There's no secret off switch to this thing, but we do have something else. And Morden's gonna hold up his ring. You guys feel ready for this?
Yes.
All right, well in that case, let our powers combine. Earth.
Fire. Scotch.
Does not work. I tried to like substitute my own words. These things are very stubborn against reprogramming.
All right, fine. Wind.
Water?
Heart.
Colored beams of light leap out of your rings and collide together in a brilliant rainbow explosion. Flying out of it comes an athletic-looking male figure. His skin appears to be made out of glittering crystal. His hair is the color of grass, and he wears a red outfit that leaves his arms, legs, and midriff exposed, with a golden globe displayed on his chest. As he emerges from this burst of light, he declares, "By your powers combined, I am Captain Multiverse!"
Yay!
Go multiverse!
Go multiverse.
Wow, he looks really 80s.
He touches down in between all of you and says, "Well, you're not quite the group I expected, so what's going on?"
Is it weird that I'm kind of turned on right now?
Is that Archer or Nico? I guess it could be either.
Yeah, I mean, take your
Yeah.
pick. I'm not even going to give it away.
Hi, Captain. We're in a bit of a pickle here. You see, there's this,
Nico's like, does this kind of thing not happen a lot on your world?
I say, this one's new for me, but big spaceship outside, about to go through a portal and, threaten to end all life throughout the entire multiverse. Be nice if you could give us a hand with that in whatever way you can. We still don't totally know what your deal is.
Oh, is this that whole Phyrexia thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you know about that?
Oh, the Planeswalkers that created me kind of filled me in about that whole thing. Don't worry, I got you guys covered. With that, he turns and flies toward the window, and when he touches it, he actually just sort of phases through it in a shower of glittering sparks, just leaving it completely untouched as he flies out into space, making a beeline toward the giant Phyrexian portal. His approach is noticed, however, and a sizable portion of the Imperial fleet moves to intercept, with green lasers lancing out at him. Captain Multiverse turns toward the approaching ships and smirks, saying, "Lucky for me, I'm their powers combined and magnified. All their powers." And then a holographic Omni tool appears around his right hand, which is also suddenly holding a magic wand, and an electric guitar appears in his left hand. A giant sword appears strapped across his back, and several lightsabers hang from his belt. He then streaks forward. From your viewpoint on the Starforge, all you see is a streak of light followed by a cascading series of explosions tearing through the Imperial fleet. The TIE fighters are the first to go, but it isn't long before the cruisers and even the Star Destroyers are consumed in the destruction. Captain Multiverse flies from the fire and zigzags around the Doomstar, slipping into the Phyrexian portal. He emerges in orbit above the world of Phyrexia. He looks down at the monstrous, misshapen planet covered in unchecked industry and mechanization, rivers choked with runoff and skies blackened by smog, and says, "Yikes, the pollution here is really bad. Fortunately, dealing with this happens to be my specialty." He flies like a bullet fired from a gun. He enters the atmosphere of Phyrexia in an aura of fire, his flight causing the black smoke clouds to part around him in shockwaves. The endless Phyrexian cityscape rushes up to him, but he only redoubles his speed, impacting the ground with unthinkable force and continuing on through solid earth. For a while, nothing seems to happen. A group of Phyrexians draw near to investigate the strangely small hole punched into the ground by the object that fell from space. Just then, a wave of glittering golden light spills over the edges of the hole and spreads out in all directions. Where it passes over the ground, green grass sprouts up. It passes over the Phyrexians and seems to momentarily consume them in brilliance. When it falls away, they look down at themselves and see that they have been restored to their old forms, the shapes that they were in before the strange creatures plucked them from their home plane and dragged them into this nightmarish place. Gone from them is any trace of the Phyrexian infection, and for the first time since their abduction, their minds are their own once again. The wave of light continues expanding outward. Trees spring up in its wake, birds singing in their branches. Pollution is wiped from rivers, lakes, and oceans, and the clear waters teem with colorful fish. Many of the buildings, like the Phyrexians themselves, are restored to whatever they had been initially before Phyrexia assimilated them, but those buildings constructed entirely in Phyrexia simply vanish altogether. This wave extends upward as well, clearing the greasy smog from the sky, and for the first time in countless millennia, warm, natural sunlight gently touches down on the surface of the world, formerly known as Phyrexia. And we are back on the observation deck of the Starforge, as you all watch through the portal as this realm is transformed. What do you do?
Wow, I've never seen a mullet in the wild before.
I really didn't think we'd do it, honestly.
Is that it? Is that easy?
I thought we'd get close, but I thought we'd, go out in a blaze of glory, but,
Yeah, it was starting to feel that way.
yeah, and even if you did do it, I thought maybe someone in the league would get there eventually, but I didn't think it would be our team, and I certainly didn't think I would live to see it.
Does anyone have a blanket or a robe?
Vader had a cape.
What would you do with it if I gave one to you?
I'm a little cold.
Luna just grabs the cape off of Vader and transforms it into that maroon paisley and just puts it around Dante's shoulders. There you go.
Why do I keep ending up with evil guys' capes?
It's a mystery.
They're the ones who have capes, and you just look really good in capes.
Well, it's comfy.
I want to, take a blood sample from Lex Luthor and see if it has any Phyrexian traces in it, to see if it came into this world as well.
There is no trace of the Phyrexian infection in Lex Luthor.
Oh, dang. What do you guys think happened to Doom?
He's probably out there somewhere.
There's a sudden swirl of green light and energy from one corner of the room that you're in. It only lasts a moment, and when it disappears, it reveals Dr. Doom. The previous times you've glimpsed him, he's been a tall figure wearing a golden tunic and cloak over full body armor. He's still a tall armored figure, but the tunic and cloak have been changed to a much more drab green color. He glares out at all of you from behind a glowering metal mask. What have you done?
We calmed some of your friends down, probably more than you would have liked.
You have taken victory from my grasp is what you have done!
Oh, did we? Is that what we did? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Hey, Captain Multiverse, put all the pollution back.
Are we supposed to feel bad about this? Are you guilt tripping us? Because it's really not effective.
You don't understand. I had finally done it. The power of the multiverse itself was nearly in my grasp. But you, all of you, have crept in and ruined everything. My beautiful empire, my monument lies in ruins because of you.
Can Nico zap him?
Sure.
Yellow.
Yeah, you hit him, or rather, you hit his force field, which springs into life just in time to catch your Eldritch Energy Bolt. He glares at you and says, "You dare, you idiotic juvenile. You shall learn to your utter despair what it means to court the wrath of Doom." Doom extends his right hand, palm up, and another swirl of magical light travels up his arm and spreads around his fingers. A large book appears open in his hand, and you all immediately recognize it as the Tome of Eternal Darkness.
Oh god.
Doom's eyes flick down to one of the incantations on the page.
Tyr, Aratak, Redgermor, Pargon, Cthulhu.
Crackling, coruscating energy tears out from Doom and the tome in vicious waves. They wash over you with a sensation similar to being turned inside out. You feel as though you're being flung an immense distance until mercifully you drop to the ground. Looking around, you quickly realize that you are no longer in the Starforge and likely no longer in the universe that you were in moments earlier. The ground beneath you is rough and rocky and stretches out about a half mile in every direction before dropping off sharply. You see a number of chunks of rock floating out in the air nearby and realize that you must be lying on one such floating piece of earth yourselves. The sky beyond is a confusing, swirling mass of chaos, with matter and energy being pulled one way and the other along unknowable currents. As you pull yourselves up, movement separate from the omnipresent chaos catches your eye. You see a dark shape, only somewhat humanoid, growing slowly closer to where you stand. Specific details escape you at this distance, but the bloated body, thin limbs, bat-like wings, and long facial tentacles leave no doubt in the minds of those who went to the Mushroom Kingdom. This is unmistakably Cthulhu. A sudden flash of light from one of the innumerable chaotic storms nearby briefly illuminates the giant's face, and you see a glint of metal above the tentacles. Cthulhu is wearing the Mask of Doom. Somehow, Doom has managed to merge himself with the Great Old One, and is coming toward you with murderous intent.
All right, fine.
What the fuck?
You watch as this abomination grows inexorably closer, steeling yourselves for your own destruction, when there's an abrupt chime from Morden's belt. Morden, you glance down, and you see that your DDC has identified an extraction point, and you are standing on it.
Hey, Stitch, on your left. I'm gonna press
I was going to say.
So the beacon is set up to automatically detect your multiversal coordinates and then broadcast them out. So all you have to do is hit the button. The screen of the beacon goes blank for a few seconds before displaying the message, sent. For a long moment, you stand on your chunk of rock. The looming shape of Doom Cthulhu draws closer, taking up more and more of your view, its eyes burning with green fire from behind the metal mask. Then you hear a popping, crackling noise as a white electric bubble snaps into place nearby, then collapses back down, revealing 5 members of the Extraordinary League. Then there's another crackle, and another, as dozens and dozens of DDC bubbles open up. Dr. Emmett Brown, Egon Spengler, and Luca Ashtier begin digging out various inventions and cobbling together new ones. Rasputin Aquato, Princess Zelda, Demona Skeletor, and Elphaba begin pulling in mystical energy to weave spells both to protect and to harm. Elemental energies of all types swirl around War Turtle, Pikachu, Mermista, Vivian, Elijah Snow, Titania, and Daenerys Targaryen. Kasumi, Ranma Saotome, Finn Balor, Elastigirl, Bowsette, Miss Piggy, Squirrel Girl, and Brock Sampson all strike martial arts poses. Zero, Michonne, Arya Stark, Beatrix Kiddo, Geralt, Helena, Adam Jensen, Yoshimitsu, and Morgana all draw their blades, while James Bond, Max Rockatansky, Samus Aran, Jack Bauer, Austin Powers, Rosa Diaz, Blasto, Lara Croft, Roland Deschain, Tuvok, and Sombra load and aim their firearms. Sir Didymus rides toward the battle, while Dexter flies above him next to Toothless, who carries the cheat on his back. Optimus Prime looms over the rest of the league, with Gimli, Veemon, Rorschach, and Amethyst standing on his shoulders. Toward the back, the emergency medical hologram has set up an area where injured members can be looked after, with Cambot, Janet, Fiverr, and Wexter standing by to assist him. Godzilla roars, Ash Ketchum begins yelling commands, Esme Squalor looks around for something to hide behind, Michael Jordan dribbles his basketball. Buffy Summers walks down toward the 6 of you, looking around first at the strange world you're in, and then at the massive figure drawing close. I feel like someone should say something cool right about now. What do you think? Let's roll initiative.
5.
14.
10.
5.
Nico got an 11. Archer got a 6.
Morden, you are up first.
Much as how Daenerys joined ice powers with Morden when they were fighting Azula, Morden wants to start things off this time with an Incinerate, as is his traditional way of starting off a battle, but he's going to get some help from Daenerys, who's joining her fire to his, and as they're getting ready to do this, Bowsette and Vivian also come along, because they are also good at shooting fire, and right before they do, though, Morden's feeling a little uncertain about his aim, but then there's a hand on his shoulder, and he turns and he sees Roland Deschain, who is there to, of course, give him some pointers. He turns to Morden and says, having some troubles, sigh Solus. And he says, yeah, Roland, actually, I've had a lot of issues hitting stuff with this incinerate. I keep aiming with my hand all the time, and it's not ever working out. And Roland gives him some pointers about alternate ways he can do things.
All right, great. That really opens your eyes.
I'm gonna spend karma if that's all right.
That is totally fine.
I got a little bit left. Let's see. Yeah, I can easily make that 2 a red, so I will do so.
The 4 fire users, guided by the strong hand of Roland Deschain, let loose a combined giant bolt of fire that tears through the air and into Doom Thulu with a thundering crash. Nico, what would you like to do?
Nico's gonna hold and wait for Archer's turn.
Okay. Dante, what would you like to do?
Dante is gonna coordinate a detailed air assault on Doom Thulu. Dante will ride Toothless into battle. Demona is going to deliver Gimli into battle.
Gonna end up tossing him.
Right, and so I'm riding Toothless, but I'm also carrying a secret weapons package, which is the cheat. We will fly over Doom Thulu, and I will deploy the cheat to wreak absolute havoc in ways I don't understand. So Gimli will land with his thundering axe. He'll start chopping at tentacles or whatever, and I will just do Dante things. It's a green, though. I rolled bad for once.
Well, you guys managed to do a respectable amount of damage to Doom Thulu via your air assault / bombing raid.
Yeah.
It is now Archer's turn, which means it is also Nico's turn.
Out of the darkness, you hear the squeals of tires as a gigantic semi-truck, which is Optimus Prime, comes out of the shadows and starts driving heroically toward Cthulhu. Driving this truck is Mad Max Rockatansky. And standing on the top of this truck, on the semi-thing, is Sterling Archer, Special Agent Sterling Archer K. Ocelot.
Chaos-a-lot. Oh.
Archer has binoculars on and his sniper rifle over his shoulder, and he immediately ditches both of them as the top of the semi opens up, revealing a gigantic gun that James Bond is behind. He and his technology have installed this fucking massive gun that shoots person-sized bullets, and that rises out of Optimus Prime's back. Archer hops in the firing seat for that, and Nico uses the superstar that she got back in the Mushroom Kingdom. And puts herself in the chamber.
Oh, jeez. I forgot you had that stupid thing.
That's incredible.
So Archer aims the gun carefully, and James Bond is helping him with targeting. And then right as Archer squeezes the trigger, Nico's gonna press the witch arm against herself and say accelerate. So she's being fired out of the gun at a magically accelerated speed that continues as she goes. She's for one turn, she's completely invulnerable, and Archer, with his sniper abilities, is aiming it at Doom Thulu's head. Well, that's yellow.
You hit Doom Thulu straight in the metal forehead. His head snaps backward with an incredible impact and actually takes a step back before regaining his balance and continuing forward. That brings us to Stitch.
Stitch, Wartortle, and Samus are all gonna line up in front of Michael Jordan and assume a ball position. Stitch curls up in a little ball, putting his butt in his mouth. Wartortle pulls in all of his limbs in his head. Samus curls up into her classic little morph ball shape, and Jordan starts taking all 3 balls, just doing some amazing dribble juggling.
Between his legs, around his back.
And he's doing this as he's running up, dodging Doom Thulu strikes and big ol' explosions of rock and shit. And he's gonna get all up in there and basically throw all 3 characters at Doom Thulu.
So as they're running, then all of a sudden Amethyst runs up and slides on the ground in front of Michael Jordan and transforms into a trampoline.
Oh, fuck yes. I don't want to fuck this up, so I'm a karma just in case. So I got a green. I'll just make it a green. It's fine.
All 3 ball characters slam home, and if Doom Thulu had a backboard, Jordan would have absolutely shattered it in the process. Luna, what are you doing?
I know some things about Miss Piggy and the power of her smooches, and I am who I am. Miss Piggy needs to get near him. All right, yeah, sure, she could be thrown, but Ash Ketchum does have those Pokeballs. And also, why not? So, Miss Piggy goes to a Pokeball. Squirrel Girl winds up, throws Miss Piggy at Doom Thulu. She pops out. I mean, obviously, Ash Ketchum has to say, Miss Piggy, I choose you! And then Miss Piggy pops out and smooches Doom Thulu, and he is stunned by this, and that gives Luna the opening to do Legilimency on him. And also, Luna's got Fiverr in her lap, just to, Luna's looking into the past, and Fiverr's looking into the future, just to see if there's anything we need to be aware of. Yeah, I'm going to use Cryo, because I need to know what's in this man's mind. Is he a man? Who knows? I'll take that to a yellow.
So you get a glimpse inside the mind of Doom Thulu. And, Doom Thulu was a man. Maybe he was just an Elder God, man. Or maybe he was just an Elder God. But yeah, what you find is that, the merging between Doom and Cthulhu is not perfect. Doom is possessing Cthulhu at this point. You can more sense Doom's thoughts with Cthulhu's alien mind like a giant twisting ball of unknowable malevolence underneath. You get the sense that if you look too close at that, you might seriously lose your mind. But for the time being, you are seeing into Doom's mind and feeling the incredible degrees of frustration and anger that's just consuming him at this point. So Doom Thulu glances down at the rock where all of you are. He's still relatively distant from it. You guys have been launching yourselves into him, but you just see the slightest twitch of his facial muscles, and this ripple fires off from him, distorting the area between you and him, and tears into the ranks of the League. Let's see who is left standing. Under the psychic assault, Samus, Daenerys, James Bond, and Optimus Prime all drop to the ground, completely unconscious.
God damn it.
And that brings us to round 2, with Morden starting us off.
I am going to hold for Nico.
Okie doke. Morden is holding. That brings us to Dante.
Amethyst is going to transform into a Jeep, and we are sticking a bunch of sword people in it, and we're going to start slashing tentacles, specifically around the feet area to make Doom Thulu fall over. So it's going to be Geralt, Michonne, myself, of course. Well, yeah, I guess Adam Jensen could extend his sword arms. Yeah, that sounds fun. It's like those spinning axe traps you have to avoid in every video game ever, but just imagine it in a purple car. That's a yellow.
Yeah, you guys begin to tear into Doom Thulu's kind of leg area, sending him off balance momentarily, which brings us to Nico and Morden.
I'm seeing something around his neck. It looks like the Tome of Eternal Darkness. I can't quite get up there, though. Do you think you could give me a boost?
I mean, that depends. Are you sure you want to rely on something like magic to get this done?
Look, if there's one thing I've learned that I can count on your magic for after the last time you used it, it's that it can always get us home safely.
Aw, that's really sweet. Nico clenches the witch arm and says, 4!
Morden turns invisible.
And a mystical golf club is going to smack Morden into the thing.
Slightly less subtle than what I was hoping for, but it's fine. Can we have a couple other characters also intervene to, do some distraction to, get Cthulhu's attention?
Sure. Who would you like to have distract?
Demona is going to fly around Cthulhu's head and blast him with magic, and then down on the ground, Luca and Zero are going to be shooting up at him too with their little pew-pew guns. Karma. Yeah, I'll get that to a yellow.
Morden, you fly invisibly, propelled by Nico's spell, and with the aid of the distraction of the other Leaguers, you manage to get in under Cthulhu's tentacles and grab the Tome of Eternal Darkness.
Once I have a good grip on it, I am going to planeswalk.
Cool. Morden vanishes from the plane. When he does so, Doom Thulu is suddenly engulfed in this swirl of arcane energy, and you see this small green figure seems to be launched out of Cthulhu, landing, rolling on one of the nearby floating rock chunks. And it looks as though with the Tome of Eternal Darkness removed from this plane, Doom has been kicked out of Cthulhu's body. Cthulhu is, if anything, even angrier and is now on an even bigger warpath than he was before. But, I mean, at the very least, I don't have to keep saying Doom Thulu, so that's good.
Could have gone with Cthulhu.
Cthulhu, yeah, sure.
Fruit of the Cthulhu.
Oh, I don't like those underpants. Too tentacly.
Archer, what would you like to do?
Skeletor, there's someone here who desperately needs your help.
And who is that?
It's Cthulhu.
You want me to help him? I mean, I suppose he is big and evil. It does seem like my sort of thing.
He's a big fan. I heard him say it. He actually would really love your autograph.
Really? Well, I suppose I always have time for a fan.
And guess who has a pen? As Archer hands the poison pen over to Skeletor, Archer like signals to Titania, and she waves her hands, and some kind of magic invests itself in the pen. Meanwhile, over nearby, Archer signals to two other people, Egon Spengler, who has been busy constructing the transporter pad with Tuvok's help, and Tuvok is also there to operate it. So Skeletor goes over to the transporter pad, and Tuvok and Egon beam him onto Cthulhu's shoulder, where he attempts to sign his name into Cthulhu himself, lacking any other source of paper.
Right.
However, as you know about the poison pen cap, I don't know if you know this, but it slips off for, like, no reason.
Ah, what a shame.
And as a result, Cthulhu is poisoned with the stuff in the pen, which, after Titania's spell, is no longer actually a toxin. It is, in fact, her specialty, a love potion, with the aim that Cthulhu will fall in love with the next person it sees.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Also, karma. Wow, barely needed it. Red.
So, Skeletor stabs Cthulhu accidentally with this pen. Cthulhu turns and looks at him and falls in love with Skeletor. I'm going to say this poison is not going to last long because Cthulhu has a giant elder god, metabolism and resistance and such. But
Sure.
It does at least remove Skeletor from consideration as a target for this particular round, and also distracts him intensely for a little bit.
How does Skeletor feel about this?
He's used to it by now. At least in his head he is. Stitch, it is your turn.
Stitch and Wartortle are, on his knee? So Stitch and Wartortle are hanging on there. They see Samus fall away, and Stitch is like, no! Wartortle, shoot me up! Wartortle blasts water gun at Stitch to propel him up toward Cthulhu's face. And Stitch is going to try and grab onto the very bottom of a tentacle, pull out his lightsaber, and start a slicing. It's yellow.
Okay, that brings us to Luna. So Luna, you can continue the attack if you want, but Doom has been detached.
All right, I fly over and dismount. And is Doom standing on the rock or sitting sullenly? What's he up to?
When he was launched out of Cthulhu, he landed and rolled, but he's gotten back up to his feet and is just glowering down at this whole situation. As you land, he raises up both of his hands toward you, crackling with magical energy.
I don't think this day went the way you thought it would go.
No, it certainly did not. This was supposed to be the day that I tightened my grip once and for all on the throat of the multiverse.
Can I ask why?
You want to ask me why?
Yeah. Didn't anyone else ask you why?
Well, no. They just attempted to oppose me and then I crushed them. And then they had to do what I said.
That is often how that goes.
Who are you exactly?
Oh, I'm Luna, and I'm a member of the League.
Yes, this league. The constant thorn in my side. You've taken everything from me, do you know that?
Is this the only thing you've ever lost? You haven't lost anything else?
Do not talk to me of lost, child. Doom has lost more than you could possibly fathom.
You probably have. Although, all of my friends, we've all lost a lot too. I'm not saying that to compare this. I'm just saying you're not alone. And you know what? Every time I hurt because I lost something, and I tried to get angry or to take back something, it didn't help. It didn't make it hurt less.
Doom growls, but seemingly unconsciously just lowers his hands, and the energy around them disappears.
You know nothing of Doom's pain. This is not something that can simply be wished away by happy thoughts.
No, I'm sure it isn't. It would be nice if that was the way the world worked, but it isn't.
I wanted to help, I saw this Phyrexian threat coming, and all I wanted was to protect Latveria. Make sure that my people could sleep safely without this coming from their nightmares, dragging them into it.
I think, even though you did something bad, I think at the time you did the best you could. I don't think it was a good thing or the right thing, but I think in that moment, you did the best you could. And it's not nothing.
Then why does it feel like everything just turned to ashes in my mouth? Why is it that no matter how many worlds I conquered, no matter how I steered Phyrexia away from my homeworld, nothing ever seemed to matter?
Did you do it alone?
Of course not. I brought in my praetors. I had the might of Phyrexia at my command.
Oh, what I meant was, did you have people around you who weren't just minions?
Doom has no equals.
That sounds like a very lonely way to live.
Perhaps it is. You said your name was Luna?
Yes.
I find myself very tired, Luna. I've been fighting for so long, fighting for Latveria, fighting for Phyrexia, fighting against Phyrexia. And now it just seems like it was all a waste of time.
You can't know that. It might feel that way today, and it might feel that way next week, but you don't know the ripples of what you've done. And maybe, somewhere in there are some tiny little good things that happened. That doesn't make it okay. I'm just saying you can't know everything. You're only one person.
All right, we are back to the top of initiative. All of you receive a telepathic message from Rasputin Aquato, who says that apparently some members of the League have begun assembling a plan that they think might be able to work. They just need Cthulhu kept off of them for a little bit longer. And just then, Cthulhu attacks. In a flurry of blows, Cthulhu reaches the rock where everyone is stationed and takes out Amethyst, Geralt, Adam Jensen, Luca, Titania, and Wartortle.
Oh boy.
Oof.
And that brings us back to the top with Dante.
I'm going to fly solo around Cthulhu, being a Dante Nat. Can I take the cheat again?
Sure,
I just want the cheat.
understandable.
In fact, it's like I'm playing handball with a backboard, and Cthulhu's the backboard, and the cheat is the ball.
Okay, so you're just dribbling the cheat against Cthulhu.
Yes. That is a yellow.
Okay, you managed to get a few solid hits on Cthulhu with the cheat. Very good.
Amazing.
Morden.
Yeah, so trying to think of where I planeswalked to. Morden's going to appear at the monastery.
The Greybeard Monastery?
Yes.
Okay, so you go back to Tamriel.
Yeah. Are the monks in the middle of having an orgy right now, or what's going on over there?
There's an energy in the room when you get there. Like, you get the sense you maybe just missed something.
Everybody's like readjusting their belts and
they-
like, oh hey,
their
how's it
beards
going?
are kind
Like
of
acting
askew,
like,
you know? The head monk walks up to you and says, Planeswalker, you return.
yes, I have an intensely evil book. It's very, very bad, and it will try to corrupt you and like turn you all against one another and all sorts of bad things. But can you just like not do that for like half an hour until I get back? I just need to leave this somewhere. You guys will be cool, right?
Worry not, Planeswalker. We shall take care of your book, and our bonds are much stronger than that of brotherhood. And everyone shoots each other a knowing glance.
Yes! I'm so happy!
Cool. Carry on with whatever you were doing, and I planeswalk back.
We are at Nico's turn. So yeah, Nico, Cthulhu is still attacking.
So, Dan, tell me if this is something I can do now, but I would love for Nico to walk over to where Luna and Doom are and maybe join in that conversation.
Sure, that's fine.
Just before I do that, like on my way over there, I'm just gonna throw a little Dispel magic on Godzilla.
Okay, all right.
Merry Christmas to me!
So Godzilla, who had been under the effects of a size-changing spell for a while, has the person who cast the spell suddenly unmade and grows back to his normal size, which is to say roughly the size of Cthulhu.
Skryok!
That brings us to Archer.
Alright, so Archer has concocted another plan to deal with Cthulhu. In accordance with Archer's plan, Elphaba is going to use her magic, which I believe is considerable in strength, to warp Cthulhu's face a little bit and give him a long, pointy witch's nose.
Okay,
Okay, a fully functional nose.
gotcha.
Then Archer and Roland are going to each fire an explosive round, one up each nostril.
Uh-huh.
As sort of the coup de grace, Yoshimitsu, who responds to Archer's motion to do his part with a muttered,
Yay!
spins his blade in a helicopter around and around, and just helicopters up to where Cthulhu's nose is. He's got Rorschach underneath his arm, and he just stuffs Rorschach up Cthulhu's nose, and now he has to deal with that smell for the rest of the combat.
This is a deeply unconventional strategy, and I'm all for it.
Yellow.
Okay. Cthulhu takes the explosive shots and also a very stinky superhero to the nose, to his brand new witch
Which
nose.
he now has, yes.
Stitch, what would you like to do?
Well, Stitch had to watch his poor buddy Wartortle get knocked out and flung off of Cthulhu. And Stitch watches this little knocked out turtle go flying, and he's like, "No, not again!" But a large black scaled hand comes out and catches the little turtle right before it falls to the ground. There's the big dinosaur man himself, Godzilla. And with his right hand, clocks Cthulhu right in the fucking face. Yellow.
You guys are keeping Cthulhu busy as much as you can, while meanwhile, Doc Brown has gathered and connected together every DDC available. DDCs working together like this increase the field of effect exponentially with every additional unit. So one DDC can transport a small group of people, but two hooked together can transport a full-sized Godzilla, provided that they have a strong enough power source. Doc Brown currently has over a dozen, all daisy-chained together in one huge circle, with Zelda standing in the center. She produces the heart-shaped Majora's Mask, nods over at Helena, standing nearby, and then puts it on. Helena draws the sword that she received from Grayskull and plunges it into one of the DDCs. The power of Grayskull itself flows out from the sword and through the chained DDCs, all of which glow with intense light and snap open, sending a pillar of light thousands of miles into the air. Zelda, wearing the mask, raises her hands to the sky as a gigantic, crackling electric bubble springs open above her, and, pulled from across the multiverse, the Doomstar appears in the sky. Even though it is miles away, it still dominates the sky with its massive presence and with the giant grinning face that has appeared on its surface.
Oh, Jesus.
So Buffy begins to order the League to evacuate. Those members of the League that are still conscious begin gathering up their unconscious teammates and hurrying back over to the giant network of DDCs. Meanwhile, over at the floating rock nearby, Luna, Nico, and Doom look up at the Doomstar as it begins hurtling towards Cthulhu. Doom says,
This is what I have wrought. This is what I have brought into the multiverse. This is what I thought would bring peace to us all.
Yeah. You know, I tried to tell you. I did, if you recall. Not wanting to say I told you so, but if you recall, I did say that we should try to find a different way to do it. And as you can see, there always is a better way than just doing what you did.
Doom was not wrong. Let us be perfectly clear about that. But there is a chance that he may have made a slight miscalculation.
I don't know, man. I think you were pretty wrong. Like, I'm not trying to pile on you here, but what you did actually hurt a lot of people, and that's what's wrong about it.
Yes, I suppose it was. Perhaps I should stay here. Use the Doomstar on this creature. Ensure that the both of us meet our annihilation as we no doubt deserve.
I think that if that's the thing that you think will make up the most for the people you've hurt, then that's what you should do. But if you think that there's another thing you can do that would make a bigger difference, then maybe you should do that.
Dante raises his hand and is like, can we provide some input on what Mr. Doom should do?
Nope. No, you may not. Not in the slightest. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you for your input, though, Dante.
You're welcome, I guess.
Look, Doom, our world is in safe hands. Now, if you feel that the right thing to do is to stay here, then stay here. But if you ever want to come home and, learn at the feet of a master about some of this stuff, you just let me know.
If you were in my situation, what would you do?
Can we see that Morden comes up behind him now?
Sure.
Yeah, so Morden has now planeswalked in. I have felt as though I've been at the end of my life on multiple occasions. My end is coming as well, and my life has been very short. But I'll tell you this much. I am not going to go out 1 second before I have to, because I have not stopped growing yet. Have you?
Doom's spine suddenly straightens. His fist clenches and says,
Never. Let's go.
In the background, you can hear Stitch screaming, "Throw him!" And Godzilla is like picking up Cthulhu and throws him, and Stitch is like, "Yeah!"
So the League retreats back to the circle of DDCs. Doom goes along with you. You all gather up the devices and, in groups of 5 or 6 at a time, begin warping out of this strange non-universe. They leave a couple of DDCs chained together so that Godzilla can warp out with them as well.
Wait, can I narrate something real quick, Dan?
Yeah, go for it.
So, Stitch and Godzilla are fighting. I want to run over and look at Stitch. Stitch ends up looking at me, and then we grab hands and we run and teleport out together.
Okay. So, Dante and Stitch are holding hands. The rest of you have gathered together around the DDC, watching as the two of them are approaching, skipping merrily as they do so.
You know that us skipping is you just flinging Stitch, right? The size difference.
Well, and I also want Godzilla to be in the background, like, lumbering with, like, a dumb smile on his face, like, coming towards us. Oh, God. It's such
like
a
he always
pleasant
do.
image, yeah.
Yes, Lace in her ATST walking alongside Godzilla.
Oh, jeez.
The last thing that you see as the DDC pops open and this crackling bubble of energy surrounds you is the massive form of Cthulhu staring up at the even more massive form of the Doomstar above as a countless number of huge green lasers begin to converge together. You all arrive in Castle Grayskull. The structure sustained heavy damage from the Phyrexian invasion, but much of it still stands, and from the looks of it, it can be rebuilt. You look out across the colorful, lush world of Eternia with the rest of the Extraordinary League standing at your side, and you can see that the Phyrexians' assimilation of the universe was cut short when Captain Multiverse purified the Phyrexian invasion from existence. The ugly scars of invasion still mar the landscape in places, but the invaders themselves are gone, transformed back into what they were before, and Eternia, like the multiverse itself, can finally begin to heal. What do you do? Extraordinary League is produced by Dan Mulcairn, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Motherload, and to TabletopAudio.com for our background music and ambient sound effects.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Specific details escape you at this distance, but the bloated body, thin limbs, bat-like wings, and long facial tentacles leave no doubt in the minds of those who went to the Mushroom Kingdom. This is unmistakably Cthulhu.
It really feels like you're reading one of the bad endings from a Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Are you saying you want to turn back to page 63 and see what happens?
Can we maybe take option B?
Sure.
Yeah, it really just depends on what, like, powers Cthulhu supposedly has. I feel like Dan is going off of D&D stat Cthulhu. And then also plus whatever the fuck Doom has, which is a lot.
Which is everything. Turns out this is actually just a Doom Cthulhu bot. It is one of several hundred Doom Cthulhus.